Western Spring Television, as it is.
Hello and welcome once again to your show. We call it Pertinent Questions. This is Western Spring Television at Gumbeleu Oshobo. The questions we hope to raise on today's edition of our interview program will focus on entrepreneurship. I said entrepreneurship. The simple definition of who an entrepreneur is that he or she is a person who makes money by starting or running business through financial risk taking. Our guest is here. He will give us a more implied definition. And my guest on the program today is an accomplished entrepreneur who has spent over 21 years of diverse experience across many, call it multiple industries, and you may be right. A first-class degree holder in chemical engineering from University of Lagos. Yes, Akoka. And then listening to that, one may find it difficult and wonder why this very prolific academic has veered or moved on into entrepreneurship. In the course of the program, he might have cause to explain, but then let's welcome him into our midst. I speak of Mr. Bolaji Jegede. You are most welcome to this program. Pertinent questions.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy and privileged to be on this show today.
Thank you very much. If indeed you are privileged, let's have a warm handshake. I am ADETOYESE SHITTU-ALAMU, your anchor for the program, and for the next 45 minutes or so, we should be discussing issues, discussing about entrepreneurship. You are once again welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, I want to say that this program is in two parts. We will spend the first part looking at what I might want to call concept definitions, and then zero in during the second half of the program to discuss some of your pet projects and what have you. So let me begin by asking, what is entrepreneurship and who is an entrepreneur? I gave a little understanding of my knowledge of it, but you are in the field. What is entrepreneurship? Who is an entrepreneur?
So basically for me, entrepreneurship is just the science of running a business of your own. So you're an entrepreneur when you are able to come up with an idea and see that idea through into a viable business. And by entrepreneurship, it also means that you are a problem solver, because the basic essence of entrepreneurship is your ability to actually run a successful business, solve a problem in the community, create jobs by employing people and contributing to the society.
Is entrepreneurship profit-driven or human development centered?
So entrepreneurship is in different categories. There are some people who call themselves capitalists, and they are driven by profit. There are some of people who call themselves social entrepreneurs, in which case they have more human face to what they do. in which case, whilst you're trying to make profit, you are also human in the way you conduct your business. So largely entrepreneurship is profit driven, but it could also have a human face to it.
How is entrepreneurship facilitated in our country, locally and internationally? You know, everything we do in the developing world is often times very different from how it is supposed to be done in the developed countries. So how do you facilitate entrepreneurship in our land?
So when you look at Nigeria or Africa, entrepreneurship has become very difficult because what needs to be on ground to help entrepreneurs is just almost not there. And what do you really need as an entrepreneur? Oftentimes, what you need is funding. And funding is very difficult to come by in Nigeria. And this problem is also similar to in many African countries. And so the bedrock of entrepreneurship is problematic. So it makes the journey always very difficult for young Nigerian or African entrepreneurs. Whereas in Nigeria, if you were going to get a loan for business with any of the commercial banks, you're probably going to be getting a loan at about 35% interest rates. That way, you cannot run any successful business with that kind of funding, because how much can you really make? You're just going to be working for the bank. In Europe, you can get loans as low as single digit, 5%, maybe even less. So in the developing countries, those in entrepreneurship are really, it's like a camel going through the eye of the needle.
Okay.
You really need to be an entrepreneur at heart to really survive.
It means in that way you must not be, you must be human development centered, not necessarily profit driven.
So you can be.
I'm asking.
Yeah, you can be any of the two. It all depends on your orientation and what drives your entrepreneurship enterprise.
Okay.
So you can be profit driven and you can be human centered. You know, so it depends on your personal leaning.
Okay. The expression entropy is all about the way of measuring the lack of or order in a given system. Entropy. To what extent does entropy affect entrepreneurship in our country?
So when you talk about the state of order, and you're talking about entrepreneurship in Nigeria, you cannot really say that it's a chaotic situation, because the things that you need to actually survive as an entrepreneur is not there for the most part. Funding is a problem. In Nigeria today, power is a problem. And when you are running a manufacturing business, for example, almost any business, you need power. Power is now very expensive in Nigeria. Yeah. You need fuel, PMS for the most part, or diesel, you know. Those are extremely expensive now. And that's perhaps one of the reasons why there's protests going all over the place now. So everything you need to run your business has become almost 4 times the cost. Rents are high, so you want to rent an office, it's high. So everything is chaotic in Nigeria. So when you say entropy, there's no equilibrium. Everything is chaos, as it were. So to navigate that kind of chaotic situation, you need to be really very smart as an entrepreneur. And you have to be very determined, because entrepreneurship is an extremely difficult thing to do in Nigeria or in Africa. So if it's not your calling, you're going to chicken out. And we've seen that happen all over the place.
You have mentioned smart. One needs to be smart. You've mentioned in the course of your answering my questions, problematic. And you have also talked about problem solving. If I galvanize all these together and I ask, can the entrepreneur afford to be overcautious in a third world country like ours?
It's going to be, in my experience, it's going to be very important to be cautious, not necessarily over cautious, because entrepreneurship has its dynamics, and the situations change with time. In which case, you have to be also very, very present to see the change coming, predict the change, and be able to, flow with the trend. So when you look at the way things are happening now, 10 years back, there wasn't so much technology driving businesses.
Yeah.
Now you have technology driving businesses, and people have had to change the way in which they run their businesses. Now, 10, 15 years ago, not so many businesses were online, but today, if you're not online, you're out. And so as a business, you have to be very present, very aware of the changes in the environment, so you can adapt your business, and so your business doesn't die. Today now, there's the boom of the artificial intelligence. And now people are also looking at how do we incorporate artificial intelligence into our business to be able to cater for the millennials and the Gen Zs, so that your business can remain valid and running. So that's why you can't be overcautious, but you have to be actually cautious to a level that you're not losing money, you're not wasting money, but you can actually take advantage of the situation on ground to increase your profit margins.
Well, to what extent, you mentioned artificial intelligence and things like that. Are these new millennium introductions not a threat to the society you want to assist as an entrepreneur? You want them to be gainfully employed, but artificial intelligence has a tendency to drive them out of the job.
Okay, so artificial intelligence in itself is an amazing thing, and like every other thing, artificial intelligence also has its own drawbacks. It has the advantages and its disadvantages. So when you look at some productivity tools like ChatGPT, it makes life very easy for you as an entrepreneur, or even as a student or as a career person. So things that could have taken me sometimes 2 weeks can take me 1 hour or 2 hours using AI tools. So AI tools can help your business gain leapfrog. So the tendency really is that, which is on the draw side, on the drawback side, is that with artificial intelligence, people can lose their jobs because now machines can do what 10 people can do. A machine can do it very fast, So you may not need as much people anymore when you begin to engage technology in your business. So that's a drawback. So how do you then solve that drawback? Is that people then need to also understand that in a changing climate, you also have to adapt your skill sets to what is now required. So if AI is going to be here for a while, so it's advisable that people begin to learn those technologies so that you can distinguish yourself in the workplace. So if you actually, truthfully, AI is not going to take away some jobs, but new jobs are also being created. So the question is, how do you as an individual become versatile enough to learn and stay on course? So, when initially, maybe some 20 years back, when the whole idea of computing came in and people were using typewriters, right? So, but everybody had to adapt to using of computers and phased out typewriters. So if you were not ready to adapt, you just get thrown aside.
The world will leave you behind.
Exactly. So AI is going to create new jobs, so that we need new people with new skill sets. So the idea is going to be to learn those skill sets and make yourself valuable in the new era.
Okay. There is another concept I want you to define and perhaps explain. What is energy renewal? What is involved in that effort at renewal?
Okay, so when you talk about renewable energy, so energy the idea of renewable energy is energy that is low in carbon emission. So traditionally, we have the crude oil, PMS, and all of those kind of energy sources that generate a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And those emissions have a way of causing what we call the climate change. And so over decades now, technology in renewable energy have been developed. So when you have the solar power systems, you have the hydro energy, you have geothermal energy, you have wind energy, those are renewable sources. And you call them renewable because the source of those energy are always with us. So solar energy, for example, the sun is always there. And when you use those kind of technologies, they don't emit carbon dioxide that is affecting the ozone layer and it's causing global warming. So that's why these days, countries around the world are trying to diversify away from fossil fuels into renewable energy. We're talking of hydrogen now and those kind of energy sources, biomass and biogas and natural gas.
The life we live today as a people, as a nation, and indeed the entire world is very development conscious. How much social development crusading are entrepreneurs doing or carrying out in a country, a third world country like Nigeria? How much of it?
Yeah,
and how impactful has it been?
So some entrepreneurs are doing well, trying to do something we call the corporate social responsibility. And by that, we mean that as a business, we set apart some amount of our profits to help in the society. So you're doing projects in underserved communities. And we have examples of people who are doing amazing things in those areas. So I don't know if I can mention, you have the Tony Elumelu Foundation, okay, for example. They've disbursed over, I think, $100 million to young entrepreneurs all over Africa in the last maybe 6 to 10 years. They are doing amazing well. So many of those young people have gone on to run organizations that are now employing people. The last time I was listening to Tony Elumelu, and he said that about 400,000 jobs have been created through that effort, across Africa. The Dangote Foundation is also doing a lot of amazing things, but a lot more people can do more. But when you see the difficulty to which people are doing entrepreneurship in Nigeria, most organizations are finding it difficult to even break even or make any meaningful profit, let alone trying to then put money into the community. So if entrepreneurship and the barrier to entry is reduced significantly, companies can make more profit, and you can have more companies doing corporate social responsibility, and so many communities can actually be impacted by these social development efforts. But I think there are quite a number of people doing well in those areas, but there's a lot more that can be done if entrepreneurs are able to actually make money than lose money, which is what we are seeing these days.
You mentioned a short while ago, if the barriers to entry could be, is it reduced, or how did you put it?
Yeah, it can be reduced.
Reduced. What do you mean by that?
So barriers to entry. So now we talk about funding. And if you want to start a business and you go to any of the commercial banks, and they're telling you they're going to getting money at about 35% interest rate, that's already impossible. The banks helping out these days are banks like the Bank of Industry and the Bank of Agriculture, who still have rates around 10% and maybe 12% in the Bank of Agri. So that at least is better, but it's always best that we get things like single digits interest rates. That's on one side. The other side is the multiple taxations that businesses face in Nigeria. So you have so many layers of taxation, and that becomes prohibitive. You can have, in some states, you can have almost 6 kind of agencies levying you, and it becomes problematic for someone to run a business when you're paying so much tax. You begin to hear radio tax, television tax, begin to hear local government taxes. You're paying. There's payee.
Yes.
There's income tax. Yeah. Then if you're in the oil and gas industry, like some of the things that we do, you have the NSITF. You have all sorts of things that you have to pay for.
Suffer renewal. I mean, ownership renewal. What do
you know, at the same time, as a company, you're also expected to pay, contribute to the pension of your staff. You're supposed to put your staff on HMOs. So how do you do that? How much are you really making that you can put your staff on HMO, pay their pension, pay your payee, pay your income tax. Income tax is probably around 30-something% now, maybe 30 or thereabout. So you pay payee. So it's like you're working for the government. So that's why people are cutting corners.
All right.
You know, now you are trying to pay import duties at the port. The rates are astronomical. People can't buy cars anymore because the rates on used cars are now so high. Maybe around 35%. I gathered the last time. So people can't buy cars. So businesses are suffering in Nigeria, and we hope that the president and the administration now and the governors can really do a lot to help entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, especially MSMEs, are the ones that create jobs in any economy, and we create the most jobs. And if we are having so much problems that we cannot take money at single-digit interest rates, we are facing multiple taxes at all levels. We are facing some of the law enforcement agencies have become
lords.
And I mean, you just have some of different agencies come to your offices and be asking questions. Before you know, the people from the Ministry of Work, Ministry of Labor will come. All they are coming to do most of the time is you must give them money. Before you know it, another agency is there. So it's a very problematic situation, and people are losing jobs because the truth of the matter is that if I'm not making profits, people can't keep their jobs. And so the government needs to understand that if you're not solving all these problems, then the government is not doing what it should be doing as governments. Businesses need to be supported. When you go to China, I have more than 20 Chinese partners across our business divisions. And in China, the government helps those businesses to survive. And that's why they're expanding massively. But in Nigeria, it's as if the government is killing businesses. And look at what is happening to Dangote now. He has spent $20 billion to build the biggest single refinery in the world. And people in government, for their own selfish and best interests, which we don't understand, will not even allow him get the crude oil he needs.
Okay.
So
it's been solved now.
It's
been solved
in some way, but I hope it's been solved.
The government says he's entitled to paying in naira.
So that helps, and we should thank the president for intervening. But we know that there's a lot of undercurrents.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leave that for another time.
Yeah.
We are all Nigerians. It's in our DNA. You never can tell. I don't even know whether I should call you an engineer or a mister. That's why I've just said Bolaji, because you are a professional engineer, chemical engineer, and today you are into entrepreneurship. So I say, Bolaji Jegede, we will be back. This is the first part. We will go on a short break, and when we return, we will look at some of these things your organization has been doing.
Thank you.
Viewer at home, I have been in a chat with Bolaji Jegede. He is an entrepreneur and a chief executive. We will be back. The show remains pertinent questions, and we will keep on asking him very many pertinent questions as they affect his work, entrepreneurship. Welcome back to the show, and which is hosting Engineer Bolaji Jegede, a business manager, consultant, project manager, trainer, social developer in many aspects. Before we went, I was telling the viewer that this is a man who has left his 40 and is now into real business. Let me ask you, a chemical engineer, holder of a first-class degree in that field, what pushed you out of your 40 and now you are into entrepreneurship?
Okay, so for me, entrepreneurship is something that I believe is my calling. I believe that's what I'm born to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I started entrepreneurship while I was in the second year in the University of Lagos. Mm-hmm. And when I started, okay, I read a book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
And that book stirred up something in me that began the entrepreneurship journey. And so in my second year in the University of Lagos, studying chemical engineering, I began to think that, okay, it's like I love what that book talked about and how you could grow your income. And I started thinking around what I could do. And so I think the first thing I did then was that I went to get a distributorship of a mosquito repellent. Mm-hmm. They used to call it Odomos. Okay. So when you rub it on your body, yeah. Mosquitoes won't be able to bite you. And in the University of Lagos, because we're very close to the lagoon, so there's a lot of mosquitoes, and people read, you know, at night, and it's a lot of mosquitoes. So, and that's entrepreneurship. You have to be solving a problem, yeah. And so mosquitoes was a problem. So when I got that distributorship, so I would go from lecture theaters to other lecture theaters, selling it in the night when people are reading, you know. So people will buy it and they use it, you know, and they solve a problem. Effective. It was effective, and I was making money doing that, and that became very exciting, you know. And that I went on and on. By the time I was graduating in the University of Lagos, I already had 5 businesses on campus. I had the photocopying center in my room, in my hostel. Then I had another one in a girls' hostel. So I partnered with one of my classmates to be running it in our room, and we're sharing the profit 50-50. The one she's running in her room. So later I also started, I realized that when I was getting to the 300-400 level, we're doing what we call programming in engineering. So I went to go and learn how to program. That time was still Fortran programming, C++, those kind of very old ones now. And so I went to go and learn it, and I knew it very well. I started what we call the BJ Programming Institute. So my classmates would come to my institute to come and learn. Okay. So at that time, I would charge them about, I think, 5,000 each. So before I knew it, I had more than almost 30 people in my class. Mm-hmm. Training for about 2-3 weeks. Yes, students, my classmates. Yes, yeah. So, you know, so I was on that institute, training people. Then, of course, many of them too, because they probably won't even know it. So I'll still have to solve their assignments for them, and they'll still pay me for that. So later on, I started forex trading. I was training people in forex, you know, and then later, I have about 5 different businesses I was running on campus. But I also had the presence of mind to be able to also focus on my academics. Mm-hmm. So I was still able to come with a first class. Mm-hmm. And when I was also graduating, I was the entrepreneur of the year. You know, so, and I was still the 3rd best graduation student in the faculty of engineering. Right. You know, with a CGPA of 4.8 out of 5. Mm-hmm. So I was able to blend academics and entrepreneurship, you know, from university. So that's what I've been doing since I left university. Mm-hmm. You know, I had a scholarship to Cambridge University for my master's degree. Okay. You know, so I went to Cambridge University, but I realized that although I knew I could succeed academically, but I was more interested in entrepreneurship. Yeah. So when I got to Cambridge University, I was on full scholarship, and by the second term, I just didn't like the classroom environment anymore. It wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I dropped out of Cambridge University, and I left England. I went to Ghana to set up an oil and gas company. You know, so that didn't even pan out well. I lost all the money, and I came back to Nigeria, started all over again. You know, so there's all that roller coaster, risk taking, yeah. And that's what I enjoy doing. You know, so that's how I started the entrepreneurship journey from the university.
Okay.
And now it's 21 years.
Okay.
And we're doing some amazing things.
Okay, we will get to some of those amazing things shortly. Foundations do not necessarily make money, do they? What you call foundations?
So what you call foundations, they are typically not for profit. So it doesn't mean that they shouldn't make money, because they do make money. They make money enough to be able to continue running the foundation and continue to do the amazing work they do. But they are not profit driven, and that's the difference.
Now, imagine a Nigerian foundation not being profit driven, especially younger ones like you. You're not talking of the Dangotes who have gone through the mail. Yes, they have it. How they got it, we don't know, but they have it. They may lose. What lessons do you draw from some of these ones who have already established? Okay, so, and the challenges they went through too.
Okay, so running a not-for-profit organization, or what you call a foundation, is something you do. So businesses do it when they have made money, so that they can use that, some of their money, to give back to the society. Some people run foundations as their own business or as their own calling, right? So typically and ideally, foundations should be not for profit. But it is not to say that they will not earn money, because if it's an organization, so you have staff, you have overhead, you have to pay for your light, you have to pay for your vehicles, you have to maintain your properties, you have to pay your rent. So they must be able to make money and to be able to solve all those things they need to solve, and also why they're also, doing amazing things in the society. So what people do typically is to apply for grants. So there are a lot of development partners, the United Nations, the EU, there are all sorts of development partners that allow foundations to apply for grants, and they get grants to do the program they are doing. And so that's the ways in which you can do it. So that you are getting grants, or you have a business, then part of your profit, you put that into community development through your foundation.
You are an accomplished entrepreneur. The story you have just told us, dating back to your student days, got to a point you were even employing, your student, your classmate, course-mates became your students in that institute you set up. Currently, you are the convener of Osun Vision 2035. Make Osun great for all. What brought this about?
Okay, so Osun Vision 2035 is one of the initiatives that I came up with to help Osun State, to transform Osun State into an economic powerhouse in Nigeria and Africa by 2035.
That's some 11 years.
That's some 11 years time. And the idea is to be able to maximize the opportunities that Osun State actually presents. So in the area of tourism, in the area of economy, in the area of technology, in the area of entrepreneurship and leadership. So the idea is to, so what that initiative is going to be doing is that we have about 8 strategic objectives or initiatives that will crystallize into making Osun State that powerhouse that I hope that it can be. And that, of course, we involved a lot of key players, entrepreneurs, the young people of Osun State, government, key stakeholders will have to, rally around that initiative for it to be a success.
Okay, you mentioned you have about 8 objectives.
Yes.
Is food security one of them?
So there's the agricultural revolution, and that's where the food security actually comes in. And Osun State is geographically positioned in a manner that Osun can become the food basket of Nigeria by 2035, and that's the objective for under the agricultural revolution of the Vision 2035 for Osun State. That Osun State should be the food basket of Nigeria by 2035, and that's very possible.
I'm very interested in that. Yes, you said that's very possible. Perhaps I should allow you to tell us how
Now, so
possible and how practical.
so when you look at Osun State, we have a lot of arable land, and there is no local government in Osun State that does not have one or two, three crops or that they produce. Now we have a lot of fish farmers in Osun State. We have a lot of people in piggery, in farming, in all sorts of agricultural endeavor. And the idea really is, if we're able to galvanize stakeholders around those people and create the enabling environment to make agriculture, attractive to young people, it's possible to actually make Osun State the food basket of Nigeria. And that's what we're going to be doing, because we're going to be launching the vision itself in November this year, November 11 to 14. And the theme for that summit is going to be making it's a food security summit, as part of the agricultural revolution, making Osun State the food basket of Nigeria by 2035. And so we have invited, it's going to be a summit and international exhibition that brings together stakeholders in the agriculture sector. There are people coming from abroad to also exhibit, and it's going to bring agricultural technologists together, policy makers, entrepreneurs, investors, diplomats, all key stakeholders within Osun State, within Nigeria, and even internationally, because we're inviting consular generals of the different embassies, who will also in turn be able to share our ideas with investors from their countries. Already now, some Chinese are telling me they want to come and exhibit. I have people in the UK that are telling me that they want the details, if they can get some UK companies to come and exhibit. It's likely going to be the biggest agricultural expo in the history of Nigeria, by the way we are planning it.
Okay, it's your baby.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Then I have to pause there, because maybe we have to find a way of bringing you back so that you can pay for the services here.
Yeah, we are very happy to do that.
What I'm doing now is just to learn from the ABC of entrepreneurship. So we keep that onto another day before November.
That's fine.
But then you are also the convener of Youth Action for Nigerian Development Initiative. That concept, what is it all about?
Okay, so the idea of the Youth Action for Nigerian Development Initiative, that was the very first initiative that I put together under the foundation, the Pabio Stone Foundation. Mm-hmm. And the idea was to actually, when I look at Nigeria, it's largely a youth population. Mm-hmm. And so the idea was for me to be able to, how can we utilize the energy of the youth to bring about national development? And so what I began to do was to do youth-led programs to bring the youth together in areas of entrepreneurship, leadership, primary health care, education. So I sectored the Nigerian economy into the key areas that could bring about development. And we began to run programs for young people. And so the idea really was for me to see, when I was setting that up in 2015 or 2014, thereabout, the idea was for me to see, how can I contribute to the development of Nigeria? And that's what's always uppermost in my mind.
Couldn't you have started from one small, maybe your state? Talking about Nigeria generally, makes it a little bit more
like a big scale thing.
Yes.
So the idea is quite futuristic.
Okay.
So when we say Nigeria, the idea is where we want to get to in the future.
Okay.
So oftentimes the programs we've been running has been in Osun State, in Lagos, and it can only, so this initiative can only spread to Nigeria when it's adopted, far and wide.
Talking about adoption, there is a concept. They adopt a community concept that your foundation is also looking at.
Yes, so the adopt a community project.
Yes, what is it?
Now, so why did I come up with that adopt a community? So, I've been doing community development since I was in my 300 level. I said I started business in 200 level.
Yeah.
In 300 level, I was already giving bursaries to other students.
You yourself?
Yes. So
this guy must be rich then.
No, so I'm not actually rich.
No.
I'm not actually
okay.
So I'm rich. No, yeah, I know. So I'm actually rich. Talking in faith, right? But I'm the kind of person that I can say I give for a living.
Yeah.
So I can have 100 naira now, and I can give out 80 naira. And that's what drives me. So so what drives my entrepreneurship is the things I really want to do in the foundation. So I do the business I do because I want to use the money I make to do humanitarian things. So I'm actually more invested in the foundation, but the business I do it because I can solve those problems in the nation. And so that's why so they adopt a community. So what did I realize? So I realized that I've been doing community development work now maybe for over 15 years. So I realized that I do things in different communities. So sometimes I feel like I can't really see what I've done, but we've done a lot, a whole lot. And so what I want to do with Adopt the Community, what I'm doing with it is now when we adopt a community, we concentrate our activities on that community. Okay. So we have a test run that we're doing right now in a Lala community in Osun State. It's in Atakumosa West local government. And we've been with them for 3 years. So what did I do? It's a farming community. It's a cluster of about 26 communities. And they have a king, the Bale of Lala community. And so what I did, I went to the community and I spoke with the king. I understood what they were doing. They were farmers. And I said, and they told me, they said, look, we don't see, government has not reached us. Yeah. It's like we're in the dark. And that we were happy if you're going to be able to help us. So I said, okay. And then I took them to the Bank of Agric. Because I'm a consultant for the Bank of Agric in Osun State and also the Bank of Industry in Osun State. So I took them to the Bank of Agriculture, and the Bank of Agric graciously started giving them funding for their agricultural businesses. So right now, they've gotten about 3 rounds of funding from the Bank of Agric over the past 3 years. And they're doing very well in their agricultural, but they can do better. Because now I'm trying to look for even some other cheaper funding for them. That's not the only thing we have done. They had a problem with water. They have only one borehole in that community. And so they had a generator that powers the borehole, which had gone bad. So they have to trek kilometers before they could get water. So they were calling, the king was calling me that this water problem. So I told them that the foundation will get them a generator when we have funds for it. Because we have funds, but we are doing a lot of things. And for the past over 15 years I've been running the foundation, I've never gotten a dime from anywhere. I've always used my money because I just enjoy doing it. But now I realize that it's impossible to do the much work we want to do without support. And now we will be seeking for support. So I had to, so we don't buy the generator for them. And I said, I just told my wife, so I begged my wife, I said, look, please, I'm going to inconvenience the family. The community needs a generator and I have to give them our generator. So my wife agreed, thankfully. Thank you to my wife. And I took my generator and I went to give it to them in the community. So now they could pump water, the community can have water. And when you see the joy in the face of the people, I mean, that's what keeps me going, really.
Have you replaced what Madame allowed you to send away?
So to the glory of God.
No, I'm asking that question.
No, yes.
Have you replaced it?
I have replaced, God has replaced it.
Okay.
Because funny enough, 2 weeks after that, I gave them a 6.5 kVA generator. It was bigger than what they needed. So I said, okay, let it power the primary health care center, the palace, and the water system. So 2 weeks after, my father just called me and said, oh, but he has 3 generators. Do I need anyone? And that's why he gave me 1 generator. Funny enough, it was exactly 6.5 kVA that my father gave to me, so and it's new.
God. The God factor.
And that's the God factor. Amazing things that happen.
So before we pack it up, round it up completely, I'm interested in this La community, isn't it?
Yes.
Apart from this, what kind of impact would you say is being made on this group? Do we see the potential of that small enclave becoming a food basket as you?
No, absolutely, and that's the goal. So when I was talking about the Osun State being a food basket of Nigeria, the idea is to actually approach it on a community-based level. So Lala, for example, is an a farming community. So they produce maize, they produce cassava, they have cocoa, and they do pepper and tomatoes. So we are going to, already now I'm talking to some investors. We're going to be setting up a factory in Lala there. Already, I mean, because of the things I've been doing there, the king already gave me about 5 plots of land to build the factory, and I'm not paying for that. Okay. So we thank the La community, who is also giving back to us, So we're going to have that processing facility in Lala that will be converting maize to maize flour, converting cassava to gari, and that
I'm
the
interested
workforce.
in tomato.
So the tomato is a tricky one, but it's something that we're looking at in the long term.
Yeah.
Right now, we already have off-takers for those things. So anything coming out of Lala today, we have off-takers for everything. The challenge we're having now is getting funding for them. So the challenge with the Bank of Agri funding that they've had is that when the funds come in, because of this approval and bureaucracies all over the place, when the fund is coming, it doesn't come by the time they need it.
Okay.
So even returning becomes a bit problematic. The cycle is very bad. So what I'm trying to do for them now is I'm going to take a loan myself, except we get support, which we hope we can get. And then I'll take the loan myself so I can pay the bank later. And I'll loan the money to them at the exact time. So they get the money, I give them money at the time they need it. I'll be paying the bank myself, and then they will pay with interest, same interest, but it's now convenient for them. They're not under pressure. Right now, they are always under pressure to repay the Bank of Industry. So I'm going to absorb that pressure, and I'll be paying back the Bank of Industry or wherever I get money from my own money, and they can actually focus and have a clear head on their business. And that's we can grow that community. And that's what we intend to translate in different communities of Osun states and to achieve that 2035 dream in the agricultural revolution part of the vision.
Well, Engineer Bolaji Jegede, I suppose you come from Ijesha land.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I'm from
Jegede.
I'm from Erioke. Okay. I'm an Ijesha man.
Okay. I'd like to appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
I put in a call just less than 72 hours, and you have been able to be here. So thank you very much. As I did promise, in November, hopefully we'll bring you back here, and that time you'll be also willing to do public relations for this organization.
Absolutely. The station is a friend of myself. Okay. The MD is like an uncle to me. He's like the CEO is like a mentor to me. He supports everything I'm doing, whether it's the Vision 2035, whether it's even the Vision 2050 that I have for Nigeria. He's always supporting everything that I do.
Thank you very much.
It's really a pleasure being here.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Lagos this morning. Yeah. I had to just shelve that trip to be here.
You can still get to Lagos today.
I believe I can do that.
To the viewer at home, I have been speaking with Engineer Bolaji Jegede, a business manager, consultant, a project manager, trainer, social developer, and he tells me he's also into public speaking. We will discuss that much later on because this is broadcasting house. He is also an entrepreneur, chief executive officer of a private initiative called Pabio Stone Group, Foundation for Rural Development. He has been our guest, and I want to appreciate him for coming. I want to believe that you also had some very useful lessons to learn, particularly in the first half of our presentation that dealt in concept definitions of what entrepreneur is, what's renewable energies, and things like that. That has been our story. ADETOYESE SHITTU-ALAMU is my name. Next week, we will be here again with another guest. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now. Until next week. So long.